faith and not be afraid, 'cause God is with us every day. So rise up, be brave, let's go. Rise up, be brave, let's go. We live to praise the one who saves. Rise up, be brave, let's go. We'll walk in faith and not be afraid, 'cause God is with us every day. So rise up, be brave, let's go. Rise up, be brave, let's go. We live to praise the one who saves. Rise up, be brave, let's go.
What's up, everybody? My name's Kirk. This is Connect. I'm super excited that you're here. I have a question for you. Which exercises can you do with your eyes closed? I can run in place. I can do jumping jacks. And I didn't fall over. I hope you can do some too. At Connect HQ, the crew loves to help each other, but sometimes you still have to step up and take responsibility on your own. Our point reminds us of that. I'm going to say it. I need you to repeat it after me. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. No more baby stuff. It's time to grow up. Fantastic job. All right, now we're going to worship, so let's go to Connect HQ to learn more.
This is my favorite part of Connect. Connecting to God through music. Worshiping God is making a big deal out of who He is and all He's done. And I love to connect to God through music. And just dancing around this body God's given me, like this. Especially here at church with all of my friends. So come on, sing, dance, worship. Get up on your feet and let's connect to God together.
All around the world, listen up right now, because I got something to say and it will be heard. I made up my mind, not afraid to show. That's right, gonna leave the past behind, gonna let the whole world know I am who God says I am. Let me tell you now, I am who God says I am. Says I am. I am who God says I am. Let's go. I am who God says I am. 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 I am forgiven. is He that is in me. Nothing is ever gonna stop us. This world will never overtake us. 'Cause we've got power in Jesus. He won, evil is defeated. Come on. Hey, hey, greater is He. Hey, hey, greater is He that is in me. Hey, hey, greater is He. Hey, hey, greater is He that is in me. No one is greater than, no one is bigger than, no one is stronger than. Hey! No one is greater than, no one is bigger than, no one is stronger than. Come on! No one is greater than, no one is bigger than, no one is stronger than. No one is greater than, no one is bigger than, no one is stronger than Jesus. Hey, hey, greater is He. Hey, hey, greater is He that is in me. Hey, hey, greater is He. Hey, hey, greater is He that is in me. Greater is He.
Whew, all done and I'm stuffed. Whoa, did I do that? I guess a 30-course meal racks up some dishes. Well, I'm a responsible guy and I know exactly what to do in this situation. There, and I didn't knock over a single one.
We are Connect HQ.
Every day we help the people of the world.
Live God's way.
We look for the links.
Make the connection.
And you never know what might happen. My name is Dot, and this is how we learn to take care of ourselves. Sean. Sean. Sean!
Whoa! Sorry, Dot, but you gotta be careful, because I was in the zone. And when I'm in the zone, there's no non-zone that I'm not zoning about. Know what I mean?
Not really, but I need your help.
Awesome! Helping makes me happy, because I'm happy to help. What's up?
Well, you know that exercise chart that you gave me that tells me what exercises to do?
Yes, great chart, great exercises. Put them together, you got yourself a great exercise chart.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I lost it, and now I don't know what exercises to do. Can you make me another one?
You've had that chart for weeks. I'm sure you know all the exercises by heart by now.
I need that chart, man, to tell me what to do.
I'll help you look for it. But first, we got a message from one of our field offices.
It's a message from our field office in Dallas, Texas.
Let's see what they say.
Hey, Connect HQ. This is Carl from the field office in Dallas. I'm here with Sally, who was wondering if we could help her out.
Hi, Connect HQ. I've been a Christian for about a year now, and it's been great. Just about every night, my mom would read my Bible to me, teaching me all the different stories and what they mean. It was a lot of fun. But Now, my mom says that I should read my Bible all on my own. What if I don't know what to read? What if I don't understand it? I'm not sure what I should do.
Can you help us out, Connect HQ?
Sally raises some good questions.
Yeah, like how's she gonna air punch her way out of this one? So to speak.
It seems like she's waiting for someone else like her mom to tell her what is right.
Like what she should do, when she should do it, and how she should do it?
This sounds familiar.
Like your chart problem?
No. It reminds me of something from the Bible. There's something in 1 Corinthians that talks about this kind of thing. Take a look.
This is the story about the God who loves us in the Bible. We find truth and purpose to love God and love others. We're searching God's word for things to discover. This book is alive, full of answers and godly advice. This book is alive. See the wonderful stories inside. Every day I'm searching, read through history and poetry. How much Jesus loves me. God's great story lives. There's no other book like this. This book is alive.
1 Corinthians.
Aw, that's so cute. Look at the little baby drinking its little baby bottle.
Yep, babies are cute, all right. But you're not a baby. What's with the baby talk?
It's funny. Baby want a bottle.
Acting like a baby is only cute when you are a baby. Would it really be cute for a big kid to need a bottle?
No, I'm too big for that.
Right. Once you've learned how to feed yourself, you're too big to drink from a bottle anymore. You're ready for solid foods.
Okay, I get the point. But what's this got to do with the Bible?
We are talking about the Bible. The New Testament uses the example of a baby to teach us about growing up.
Why would the Bible teach about growing up? Getting bigger happens to everyone. We learn to walk and talk. We learn to feed ourselves.
When we decide to follow Jesus, it's like we are starting over as babies, no matter how old we are. The Bible calls it being born again.
But I don't want to be a baby again. I'm already a big kid.
Well, when we feed our bodies healthy food, our bodies grow bigger. But our reborn spirits need to grow up too.
But what do you feed your heart? What makes our spirit grow up?
We help our spirits grow by feeding ourselves the Bible. God's Word is like food for our hearts.
We learn about the Bible at church a lot. Does that feed my heart?
Yes, but just like a kid who grows up, eventually you need to start feeding yourself. You can't just wait for someone to feed it to you.
I can feed the Bible to my heart.
The more mature your faith in Jesus gets, the more you'll be able to understand and use what you learn to live a stronger life.
Like going from milk to sandwiches.
And once you figure out how to feed yourself, another important part of being grown up comes next.
Like what? Cutting your own steak?
Well, think about it. Grown-ups have to take care of babies and feed them, right? When your spirit is strong and healthy, you can help others grow by teaching them.
But I'm still a kid.
No matter how old your body is, your spirit inside you can grow strong. You can help other people's spirits grow up too. Even grown-ups can learn from kids.
Then I'm gonna drop all the baby stuff. I want to grow up and be strong for God.
Sally's heart is growing. When she was a baby Christian, her mom helped her take care of herself, just like she helped her learn how to eat solid food when she needed to eat more than just milk.
And when Sally learns to read the Bible on her own and feed her own spirit, she can help others grow too. We can find the links to encourage her that taking care of herself is a good thing.
Like, how about this for a point? No more baby stuff. It's time to grow up.
I love it. Since we're going to answer Sally's question in no time, how about we take a moment and look for that exercise chart? I need it to tell me what to do.
Dot.
Man, for a place of business that is not a restaurant, we sure do have a lot of dishes. There, finally done.
Did you do all my dishes? Wow, thank you.
Wait. These were all yours?
Yeah, and that's not even all of them. Did you check the drawer? That was breakfast.
Okay.
It took a lot of effort to get all that in there.
I bet.
It's very difficult. I did not like any of those books. Hey, I was wondering if these went right. That's a long story.
I'm gonna need you to clean. I'm gonna need you to clean all this stuff up.
I did. That's why I put it in the drawer.
No. That's hiding it. I need you to clean it.
Oh, I get it. You're right. You're right.
Now, That's
What? What?
I've already looked for it in here.
Well, if it's not in here, I don't know where it could be. Dot, I don't think you need that chart. Why don't you show me what you remember?
Okay.
I'm not even sure what that move is.
I call it dot without a chart.
Think about Sally's problem. She thinks she needs her mom to read the Bible to her, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Just like you think you need the chart to help you exercise? It reminds me of the verse from the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 13. Say it with me like this. Hebrews 5:13.
Hebrews 5:13.
Someone who lives on milk is still an infant
Someone who lives on milk is still an infant
and doesn't know how to do what is right.
and doesn't know how to do what is right.
At first, you needed the exercise chart to tell you what to do, just like Sally needed her mom to read the Bible to her.
But just like how Sally should be able to read the Bible on her own,
You should be able to exercise on your own.
now I get it.
So let's see some exercising. How about a jumping jack?
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. I know you got it. There you go. Go. Now some air punches.
Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Left, right, left, right, left, right. No more baby stuff. It's time to grow up.
I don't need the chart.
We don't need that chart.
Mike, I think you have a problem with having to be told what to do.
No, I don't. I love being told what to do.
No, see, that's the problem, is these are your dishes, so you should do them without having to been asked.
So I should do what I know I shouldn't do?
No, don't do that.
So you're telling me what to do?
Yeah, well, no. I don't know. Maybe Dot can help.
I'm just here for some water. I've been working out without a chart.
Mike and I are just discussing the importance of doing the right thing without having to be asked.
That's an important part of growing up. Whether it's cleaning up a mess you made or spending time with God. As you grow up, you take care of yourself. You don't wait to be asked.
Oh, okay, I get it. I was ignoring doing the dishes because I was waiting to be told what to do. I'm sorry that I made you clean my dishes, but don't worry. From here on out, I'll take care of it.
Well, hey, it's an important reminder for us all because I know I leave my dirty coffee mugs lying around sometimes.
Hey! Who found the toilet seat rope?
We just got a message from Connect HQ. Let's see what it says.
Hi, Sally. My name is Dot. I work with Connect HQ, and we found an answer to your questions. The Bible tells us this in the book of Hebrews. Say it with me like this. Hebrews 5:13. Someone who lives on milk is still an infant and doesn't know how to do what is right. When you first started following Jesus, you were like a baby. You needed someone to tell you what to do and how to do it. The Bible talks about spiritual milk and spiritual meat. At first, we rely on our parents or church leaders to help us follow Jesus and read the Bible. But as you continue to grow and learn, you should be able to take care of yourself and switch to spiritual meat. This means that you spend time with God and try to live like Jesus without anyone telling you to do so. And that includes reading your Bible. Cleaning up your messes and taking care of yourself are just 2 ways you can grow up. But as you mature, how can you grow stronger in your faith? Look for many ways to switch from spiritual milk to spiritual meat. The more you learn, the more you can help others grow too. No more baby stuff. It's time to grow up. Thanks, Sally, for your thoughtful questions. And remember, Connect HQ is here to help you.
Spiritual meat? I've never thought of it that way. Thanks, Connect HQ.
Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Okay, I think I got it. Let me try.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
You're a natural.
See? As you grow, you can help others learn too.
She is a great teacher.
Pretty soon, I'll have one of those nifty microphones.
Whoa! Maybe. Wearing an exercise microphone requires years of training.
Couldn't I just buy one?
Well, all right, let's punch that air. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. In the zone now.
Cleaning dishes isn't so bad. Nope. It can be nice to be told how to do something, especially when we're just starting out. Choosing to follow Jesus is the same way. When we're new followers, we need help. But as we grow, we learn to follow Jesus all on our own. Maybe today is your starting day. If you've never made the decision to follow Jesus, you can make that decision right now. All you have to remember are your ABCs. A, admit. Admit that you've done wrong and ask God to forgive you for disobeying Him. B, believe. Believe God sent Jesus to take the punishment for your sin. Trust that you're forgiven because Jesus made you right with God. C, choose. Choose to spend your whole life depending on God's power to help you say no to sin. As you live and love like Jesus, tell others God is the leader of your life and your number one friend. And if you want to make that decision today, be sure to talk about it with your Connect small group leader before you leave.
That is the most important decision that you can make. If you want to know more about that, I want you to talk to a trusted adult before we finish today. All right, we have a verse that we need to say together. Here we go. Hebrews 5:13. Someone who lives on milk is still an infant and doesn't know how to do what is right. Great job. So when you choose to follow Jesus, your heart becomes a baby heart all over again. You need people to tell you how to live for Jesus. That's spiritual milk. If you choose to live for Jesus without being told what to do and show others how to live for Jesus, that's spiritual meat. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to say some things that are either spiritual meat or spiritual milk. If it's meat, pretend to eat some delicious chicken nuggets. Just like that. If it's milk, you're going to cry like a baby and pretend to drink a bottle. Just like that. Okay? Got it? Here we go. Others pray for you, but you don't pray by yourself. Is that meat or milk? That's spiritual milk. Here's the next one. Obey before someone needs to remind you. That's spiritual meat, of course. Here's the next one. Teach God's truth from the Bible to others. Meat or milk? That's spiritual meat. Here's the next one. Only worship God at church. That's spiritual milk, of course. All right, here's the next one. Give more than a tithe, that's called an offering, of your money to God, church, and people in need. Is that spiritual milk or spiritual meat? That's spiritual meat. Great job, you guys did a fantastic job. So if you notice you're still drinking a lot of spiritual milk, ask God what you can do to start eating more spiritual meat. He will help you grow spiritually. thank you so much for joining me in Connect today. We have some awesome questions for you and your family to talk about. I will see you later.
Calvary cross where my sin and my shame's paid in full. Joy, oh such sweet joy that the Father sent the Son to die for sin. Peace that sets the captives free so that they can dance and worship the new King. The new King of the world has set us free to declare that He's won the victory, and the whole earth will sing hallelujah. Come and worship the new King. Come and worship the new King. Whoa. Such amazing grace that the blinded now redeeming, called to own, called to love, and to go into the world, called to light the way that leads a sinner home. The new King of the world has set us free to declare that He's won the victory, and the whole earth will sing hallelujah. Come and worship the new King. Come and worship the new King. So open up the gates, let the people in. Sing shouts of praise and declare His name. For the kingdom, the power and glory are His forever and ever. Amen. Forever and ever. Amen. The new King of the world has set us free to declare that He's won the victory, and the whole earth will sing hallelujah. Come and worship the new King. Come and worship the new King. Whoa. Turn this flicker into a fire, fan the flames that it burns so bright. But have your way in this place. Fill our hearts with your grace and love, and the message of your Son. Lord, have your way in us today. Fill us with your fire, make it a burning desire. Would have your way. Fill us with your fire, make it a burning desire. Would have your way. Fill us with your fire, make it a burning desire. So turn this flicker into a fire. Fan the flames, let it burn so bright. Lord, have your way in this place. Fill our hearts with your grace and love, and the message of your Son. Lord, have your way in us today.
Well, hi there.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to Church Online. We're so glad you joined us today.
Yeah.
Whether this is your first time or whether you've come back again and you said, man, that was so good last week, I'm here again. Well, welcome. It's great to have you here. Hey, so good. Hey, you're in for a great day today because we have a brand new series with Pastor
do.
Rowan
Yes.
bringing the first part of this series.
Yep.
And it's about This Is Us.
This is us.
Me and you. And talk about This Is Us. If you don't know us, my name is Terry and this is my beautiful wife,
Hi.
Ivana.
Yeah.
And we're the location pastors here at C3 Picton.
That's right. And you know, something about us here at C3 Picton, we love to connect with people. So if you'd like to connect with us, you know, there on the chat forum, there's going to come a little link. Just let's connect. Just hit that link
right.
and let us know who you are. And one of our team would love to get in touch with you sometime soon.
And what about after the service? Can we connect
I know,
then?
that's right. If you're
We
watching
can.
us online in the morning service, we love to get together in the Zoom cafe after the service. 5 minutes, pop in,
That's
say
right.
hello. We get to see each other. Actually, get to see each other.
We do.
Online.
Because we miss you guys.
We miss you very much. But thank you so much for all your patience, your love, and your care, and that you continue to journey forward with us,
That's right.
Like together on this journey that's so different.
That's right. And can we gather anywhere else? I think maybe our gathering groups. Can we do a Zoom gathering?
Come on, we sure can.
We should.
We sure can.
And we can.
And there's lots of ways that people connect. Also, gatherings. Our youth are connecting.
That's right.
via
That's a
Zoom
Zoom as well. So
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that, just message us.
Yep.
And we'll get in contact with you and tell you all about it and connect you in.
That's right. That's right. So we just encourage you to enjoy the service, lean in,
Yeah.
have a great time with us, and be blessed.
Absolutely. God bless you, church. Well, hi there, church. Right now we're going to come around our time of giving, which we love to do. And the giving options will appear on the screen or in the link, whatever format you're on. So you just press on that and that will take you to the right place. But I'm just going to read a scripture right now. It's from Galatians 6:9. It says, so let's not get tired. Let's not get weary. Let's not get despondent. Let's not get discouraged of doing what is good. Because at just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. If we don't give up. Not giving up speaks to me of being consistent. And when I think of consistency, first thing I think of is this man here, Don Bradman. Yeah, Don Bradman was the most consistent batsman ever in the world. His average, every time he went out to bat, his average was 99.94. Now, that is amazing. Every time he went out to bat, he scored an average of 99.94. Just think of that. That is crazy. But also, when I think of consistency, the main thing I think of is Jesus, because Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And in my life, I just want to be consistent. Jesus is consistent. Consistent in faith, consistent in love, consistent in generosity, consistent in hope, consistent in all ways. So my encouragement for you today, as you have been over this period of COVID-19, and we thank you so much, is let's keep being consistent. Let's not give up. Let's not grow weary. Let's just keep going, church. So be blessed as you give today. We love you. We miss you, and we look forward to getting together again real soon. God bless you.
Hey everyone, well, welcome to Online Church today. If we haven't met before, my name is Rowan and my wife Jill and I are the lead pastors at C3 Camden and Picton. And on behalf of our amazing location pastors, the Stonebridges at Camden and the McNeils at Picton, we are glad that you're with us today. And today we start a new series that was going to run through until the end of July. Whatever this crazy COVID season looks like, we are going to be running this theme through it all, even as the restrictions are starting to roll back and all that sort of stuff. We're going to pick up this theme called This Is Us. What is us? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Us being the church. And so in the next 7 weeks or so, we are going to unpack what it means to be the church. What are the implications to be part of the church? What are the responsibilities of being the church? What does the church actually mean? How do we as a church support one another, and what is our role in society? What about prayer in the church? These are all topics that we're going to unpack. How do we keep the church unified? All things we're going to unpack in the next several weeks of our series. And so I'm really excited to be with you. And of course, we will filter this and factor this through, if you like, the COVID lens. You know, there's a lot of things that normally we would do as part of church life that we can't do in this season. But that does not change what the church is. In fact, I think it's a good reminder that the church is more than what we just think it is when we go through the motions. They might be ways we express ourselves as the church, but the principles behind that are greater and more important. You know, there are churches and bodies of believers all around the world that can't meet the way that we normally would meet outside of COVID because of persecution, because of legislation against them, forbidding them to meet and so on. And that does not make them any less the church. In fact, in the first century, the church was persecuted as well, and they weren't allowed to meet, and they were persecuted for meeting, but that didn't make them not the church. So for us, I think it's a good season for us to unpack what it means to be the church. And today's message I'm calling the ecclesia, which is the overarching theme, if you like. The word ecclesia is a Greek word that is translated as church in the New Testament. So whenever you see the English translation church, they are translating the Greek word ecclesia. And we'll talk more about what that means in a few moments, because that word was well known to the people who were reading it, both Jews and Greeks. Unlike today, church carries with it a whole lot of context, 21st century context, if you like, that we bring when we hear the word church. When we think of church, most people will say, well, church is a building, or it might be one of those great cathedrals of Europe, or one of the ancient churches of the Holy Land that might be 1,000, 1,500 years old. That's what it means. Church might mean a building to a lot of people. For others of us, we understand that, no, the church isn't a building, the church is people. So the church is actually a body of believers, a group of people who meet together and center around Jesus. That's what it means to be the church. And that's all true. But we're still filtering it through a 21st century mindset. And when we don't look at it through a first century mindset, I think we miss some important lessons that we can learn about what it means to be the church. And so today we're going to take some time to look at it through the first century. Now, the word ecclesia, even though it's translated church, was a word that was borrowed from the Greek language, and Jesus chose it to describe this new group of people that he was going to form up, that he was going to create. But it was not a unique word. It was used in other contexts, and that's important to us as we move through today's study. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to take a look at one of only 2 stories in the Gospels, in the light ministry of Jesus, where Jesus uses the word church. Most of the references in the New Testament to church come up later on in the writings of Paul and the other apostles. There are only 2 occasions, they're both found in the book of Matthew, where Jesus himself uses the word church, or he uses the word ecclesia. And we might even look at the second one. I think it's in Matthew 18 or thereabouts. We might look at that in a few weeks' time when I do another message on the unity. I'm still toying up exactly where I'll go with that, but I think I might be able to bring that definition into talking about how the church is unified. But today I want to focus on the story where Jesus inaugurates or commissions the church, where he first explains what the role of the church is to be. And that's going to be important to us because that will help us to understand the role that we have as the Church of Jesus. And so we're going to find this story in Matthew chapter 16. So before we read too much of it, I'm going to stop and I'm going to give you some geographical context. I'm going to show you some slides and some images which will help you to understand the context of where Jesus is when he is making this statement about the church and its role and how we are to fulfill that role. And I think a failure to get this and grasp this means that we lack something of meaning that was very poignant and very real to those first century disciples who were hearing it, because they knew the context that we don't have. So today we're going to take on a little tour to the Holy Land, and you're going to have a look at where Jesus was when he said this. And suddenly I believe that the significance of what it means to be the church will come to life in you. So we're going to pick up the story in Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. I'm going to read one sentence, then look at these slides, then come back and read the rest of the story. If you've been a Christian for some time and you know your Bible reasonably well, you probably have read this story a number of times, or you know key verses out of this story. But I want to take the time not just to skip through the story, but put it in its geographical context for you. And I think the light will come on and a lot more will make sense to us about what Jesus was trying to say. So Matthew 16, verse 13. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi. You need to know that Jews didn't just come to the region of Caesarea Philippi. That region was actually out of bounds, if you like, to Jews. They didn't go there. The city of Caesarea Philippi is about 55 kilometers north of the Galilee region where Jesus and where most of the Jews spent their time. In fact, that was pretty much as far north as the Jews of that era went. Way up in the foothills of Mount Hermon against the Lebanese border. Mount Hermon is the highest mountain in Israel. There was this region called what is modern-day Golan Heights. And when I take a trip, we go there. I'm going to show you some pictures in a moment. And Caesarea Philippi was the Roman capital city of that region. It was built by Herod Philip in honor of Caesar. That's the Caesarea bit. And in honor of Philip himself. That's the Philippi bit. And so he chose to build this city there and establish that as his Roman headquarters for his region. He was, I believe, the son of Herod the Great, and he was given that region when Herod died and broke up his kingdom into all these different sections. Philip ruled this particular area, and so he set up his Roman headquarters there, built this city, which you can still see the ruins of. We won't look at some pictures of that today, but it's just literally 100 meters in front of what the pictures we're going to look at. But Jesus came to that region, and a Jew reading that would think, why did Jesus go there? It was out of bounds. They didn't go there. They stayed away from that because a Roman city had Greek influence, it had pagan influence. In fact, the things that went on in that region were abominable to Jews. And Jews were, as you would know if you read the scriptures, Jews were very, shall we say, very strict on where they went and who they associated with and who they didn't associate with. And it was out of bounds for them. Kind of like Mufasa talking to Simba on Pride Rock, and Simba sees the up in the distance he sees that grey, cloudy area, that murky area, and he says, "What's that?" And Mufasa says, "That's out of bounds." Well, that's what this area was like. It was a 55-kilometer uphill, like a 600-meter ascent uphill from the Sea of Galilee. I had a look at it on Google Maps. I've driven it, and even when you drive it, you realize how uphill it is, and I think, man, this is a long way for them to come, especially when they didn't normally go anywhere near the place. And so on Google Maps today, it takes about 12 and a half hours to walk this distance, and that's on modern roads. So imagine what it was like in those days. So this was not a place that you would just go for a stroll. Come on, let's go for a stroll to Caesarea Philippi. That tells us something. Jesus made an intentional trip there. And the reason is because everything he's about to outlay in this chapter, he chose that very space to illustrate these points about inaugurating his church and the role of the church. And that's why I want to take some time just to show you what it was about this region before we do it. So this region had a history of pagan worship. In the first century, it was a central worship for the god Pan, and we'll come back to who Pan is in a moment. Prior to that, even going back into the Old Testament, Baal worship, which was the one major forbidden god that the Jews kept falling into the trap of, especially the northern tribe of Israel fell into Baal worship. had a long history in the foothills of Mount Hermon, right at the headwaters of the Jordan River. This is where they did a lot of worship. And because a lot of Israel is desert and dry, this area is very lush and green. There are lots of springs. It's in the foothills. It gets the runoff from the mountains. And so it's very lush, very different to what you would ordinarily, a lot of you would associate with Israel. You think Middle Eastern desert. Well, that's the bottom half of the country. But up here in north, it's very lush. Partly because of that, they had a lot of pagan worship there because, the fertility was linked to the land and the seasons and all that. So they would worship in this place that was perpetually lush and green, and so they saw that as a place to worship, and so they did fertility, horrible, abominable sexual deeds in this area as they worshipped as part of their worship. They did sacrifices in this area. And so at the time of Jesus, this area was known for worship of the god Pan. And so this is a picture of Pan on screen now, and you've probably seen something like him throughout all kinds of fictional stories. You see this creature, a nymph, and so he has the legs and hindquarters of a goat, he has the upper body of a human, and he has the horns of a goat. And surprise, surprise, he plays the pan flute. Interestingly enough, the word panic in English derives its name from this guy. So he was a troublemaker. He was a god of fertility. So this next slide, you can see this region of Caesarea Philippi, and down in the front of screen is where the ruins of ancient Caesarea Philippi are, and you can go and visit them. But naturally appearing in the huge rock is this gigantic cave, and it's called the Cave of Pan. This area is called Banias today, and the word Banias derives from Panias. It's named, once again, as I said, after the god Pan. And so this is called the Cave of Pan, a very deep cave. Now, historians and geologists tell us that at the time of Christ, the spring actually came from within inside the cave, and there was an earthquake about 1,000 years ago, and now the spring doesn't flow out of the cave, it flows from in front of the cave, and you can see the water there. And then if you look at this second picture, it's a bit more zoomed in, you can see the cave a bit closer up, and then you can see these niches in the rock to the side. And these niches had been carved as part of worship to Pan. And so this giant cave where you couldn't see the bottom and there was water at the bottom was used for the worship of Pan at this time. And so human sacrifice was a common thing. In fact, they would often sacrifice people into this cave, and they would believe that if there was blood flowing in the river further down, then the god Pan had accepted their sacrifice. If not, they would probably, find someone else and throw them in as well. But what they had this belief that when winter came, that things wouldn't grow and that the gods would return to the underworld. And this huge cave was seen as an entrance, a doorway to the underworld, because they couldn't go in there, they couldn't see the bottom of it, they couldn't reach the bottom of it, and so they viewed this as the doorway to Hades, the doorway to the underworld. And so they would come here to offer sacrifices in the hope that the gods would come again in the springtime, leave the underworld and come back and bless their society. So the next screen is an artist's impression of what this place would have looked like when Jesus and his disciples appeared. And so there are 5 different areas of worship to point out to you. The first one, covering the mouth of the cave, was a giant temple built by Herod the Great in honor of Caesar Augustus. So this one had been built probably 50 years before Jesus is on the scene, something like that. And it covered the mouth of the cave, and they actually believed that there was probably an opening at the back where they would take the human sacrifices into this temple and then obviously offer them straight into the cave. Next to that, to its immediate right, you can see there's a raised platform there, and that is the Court of Pan. And so into these niches in the rock, they would put statues or idols of the god Pan, and they would stand there and worship. The next temple is a temple in honor of the Greek god Zeus, mounted against the rock, and this was built by Herod Philip. And then next to that on the right, you can see an upper and a lower temple. Both of these are temples to the sacred goats. And these goats were used in the worship of Pan. And I want to be sensitive about it because there are children watching it, but there were abominable acts that took place as part of their worship with goats. And they believed that this was a form of temple prostitution. They believed that this was a blessing on their world. Well, you can imagine to a Jew who were fiercely against all of those acts, this was abominable. And Jesus came to this place. No, he didn't just come accidentally. It was off the beaten path. It was a long way uphill. He came for a purpose, to inaugurate his church. So with that context, let's go back and have a look at the story. Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi and he said, "Who do the people say the Son of Man is? Who do they say I am?" And they reply, "Well, some say John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and still others that you're Jeremiah or one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked them. "Who do you say I am? I want to hear what you have to say. You're my disciples. You're the ones who follow me. What do you think? You've seen what I've done. What do you think?" Simon Peter answered, as he so often did, the leader of the group with a voice. He said, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." A proclamation about who Jesus was. The Jews had been waiting for their long time for their Messiah. They believed that their Messiah was going to be a military leader who was going to remove all of this stuff, all this pagan worship, was going to liberate Israel, God's people, from oppression of pagan Roman rule. He was going to be a military leader. That's what they believed when they saw Messiah, and it's very clear that's what Peter thought too. He partially got it, but he didn't fully get it. He says, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." All over this region of Caesarea Philippi, there were statues to Caesar. And oftentimes the statues would have markings on them. Caesar Tiberius, I think it was at this time, Son of the living God. It was a common term for Caesar. And it's with all these statues around that Peter says, "Caesar's not the Son of God, you are." And Jesus jumps, he hears this, and he hears, they're getting it. They're starting to get it. And he says, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven." So there was this revelation coming out of Peter that he clearly didn't get himself fully, but God revealed something to him and he grasped that you are the Messiah, you're the long-awaited Son of God. And so he begins to speak directly to Peter and he says, "And I tell you that you aren't just Simon, you are Peter. And on this rock I will build my church, my ecclesia, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." That is such a powerful sentence. We have to park on it for a minute. "And I tell you that you are Peter, pebble." The word Petros, I think it is, means pebble. Just a little stone. "And on this rock," well, the stone, which rock? "I will build my ecclesia." Well, scholars have argued about what rock for a long time. And I actually think it's very clear that given that Jesus chose to go to this place, that there is probably three meanings, and I believe that he probably intentionally wanted all three meanings. The first one people say is, well, it was Peter. Peter himself was the rock, and they use the fact that Peter stood up and he was the first one to preach just a few months later on the day of Pentecost and birthed the church with 3,000 believers. So Peter himself is the rock. The Roman Catholic Church believe that. They believe that that's why the Pope has it traces their lineage from Peter, and that may be true to a point. Others, Protestants, have often said, well, it wasn't Peter the man, it was the testimony of what Peter had said, that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That the rock upon which the church is built is the testimony of who Jesus is. Well, that's clearly true too, because that's fundamental to what it means to be the church, to be a Christian. We testify that Jesus is the Son of the living God. But I want to throw a third one in there that I think is very poignant. Jesus is standing right here looking at this massive rock with this huge cave in it. And he says, it's right in this place, in this den of iniquity. Look at this rock. Look at what's going on around here. I'm going to build my church on this. I'm going to turn this into my church. I'm going to take my church to this place, to everything that this signifies, the worst of what humanity has to offer. It's in that place, on that rock, that I will build my church, the ecclesia. Now let's take a moment and talk about this word ecclesia. It comes from two Greek words joined together. The first one ek and the second one kaleo. The word ek means to come out from something or to come out to something. So, during Anzac Day, we were all in isolation, and so they had dawn services out on the street, encouraged people to go out on the street with a candle. I guess people were coming out of their house to join together in an assembly. That's ek, come out of. Just recently, the Prime Minister has changed the Council of Australian Governments, and he's instituted this new federal cabinet that he's been using where all the different senior ministers and health ministers or whatever it is get together and discuss national matters like the COVID, and he's going to use that continually. Well, that is an ecclesia. The kaleo word means to call. So the word ecclesia means to call out from something or to call out to something. So the ecclesia in the time of Jesus was a word of governance. The people would come to the city gates, and the leaders of the people would govern, and they would rule from the gates of the city. And they were called out. That's where the word came from. They were called out from their homes and from whatever they were doing in their workplaces. They came together and they were called out. So I guess you could say that the national cabinet they're all called out from their states and from what they're doing. They're all called out to something to rule and govern together. That is essentially the word ecclesia. And so Jesus chooses that word to illustrate his church. It's going to be a people who are called out to govern, called out to rule, called out to be one people for one purpose. So he says, on that rock I'm going to build my ecclesia, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. The gates of Hades will not overcome it. Hades was the underworld. In your version, you're reading it, might say gates of hell. What is he saying? Well, remember that giant big cave that had that doorway to the underworld? Guess what they called that cave? Yep, that's right. The gates of Hades, the gates of hell. That was the term they used for it. Jesus is using a poignant term, saying this is the worst place and everything that represents, and my church will overcome that, and the gates of hell will not overcome my church. Now, the gates of a city were an entryway, and yes, it was where people came together to govern, but the gates were defensive. They were within the city. And so if Jesus is saying the church will be fighting or doing warfare against the gates of hell, where is the church? The church is not bunkered down behind its own walls. That would be the gates of the church. That's what would be happening if we just all hunkered down ourselves on a Sunday and didn't actually have any impact with the world. And lots of churches sadly do that. They just withdraw from the world and they were exclusive from the world. But if we are going to be the church that Jesus is initiating here, we need to be fronting up to the gates of hell. We need to be where the gates of hell are. In other words, we have to be in enemy territory, not hunkering down in our territory. Sadly, a lot of churches do that. See a lot of Christians today living in fear and, the world's so dark. And Jesus is saying, no, I'm taking you to the darkest place, and in that place, you will not be overcome by the gates of hell. And so it's a very poignant statement. He goes on and says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. This term binding and loosing was a governmental term. It was actually to forbid or permit something. The Jewish rabbis understood it. They would use this term when someone come to them with a ruling for Jewish law, and they would either bind it or they would loose it. They would forbid it, or they would permit it. It's a government term. And so Jesus is saying that the church, his ecclesia, will be a governmental body, and whatever you loose, forbid, or permit on earth, it will be forbidden and permitted in heaven. So there's an authority structure to the church. We are to rule in the midst of the darkness. Now the question is, as we get ready to close, is how is the church to rule? If we have this great authority to do warfare with the gates of hell, how are we to do that? Because to look at some Christians today, you'd think that they thought it was to rant and rave and carry on about how dark the world is and post stuff on social media about how sinful the world is. But Jesus is standing in the very place that represents the worst of the worst. And he is about to go on and show how the church, how he and then you and I are to do warfare with the gates of hell. And it's not ranting, and it's not raving, and it's not preaching against. It's very different to that. So it says in verse 21, it says, from that time on, immediately after saying this, from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, that he must be killed and on the third day raised to life. So he's just inaugurated this church. He's just inaugurated this body of governance that's going to take on the gates of hell. And he tells them, by the way, guys, the way to do that is through suffering and giving up your life. I'm about to show you how this works. I'm not going to rant and rave against this stuff. I'm going to die and absorb into myself the sinful power that drives all this mess that's in the world. Peter says, hang on, that's not how the Messiah works. He takes him aside and says, that's not how it's supposed to work, Jesus. That'll never happen to you. And you probably know the story. Jesus rebukes him. Peter goes from this incredible declaration about who Jesus is, and 2 minutes later, Jesus is saying, get behind me, Satan. This you don't have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. Verse 24, Jesus said to his disciples, now he's talked about how he's going to die. He says, you want the pattern for how the church is to rule? Listen up, guys. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Jesus has just instituted a brand new organization. This is not what you would regard as the typical campaign speech to get at followers. Normally, you're not promising that they will die. You're promising them that they will succeed, that there will be victory. And Jesus says, hey, if you really want to do this, it's different. You're not going to do it through authority power. You're not going to do it through ranting and raving against something. You're going to do it through giving up your life. People are going to see that you live differently and that you live lovingly, that you don't rant against them, but you lovingly lay down your life for them. That is going to be what the church is going to be like. Maybe we need to think about, what are the gates of hell today? What are the gates of hell in today's society? What might they be? I wrote a few down here. Materialism, this I need to have stuff in order to feel like I'm somebody, to have made it in life. The whole you do you mentality. You just be whoever you want to be. This selfishness, this I'm okay, so I don't really care what happens to anybody else. This kind of, as long as I'm looked after, I don't care about what happens to different races or different countries, and if it's happening on the other side of the planet, that's not really my responsibility. All of this kind of stuff is birthed in Hades. And we aren't to rant and we aren't to rave. We are to lay down our life. We are to live a different way. The first century church lived a different way. They rebuilt. You see the Apostle Paul rebuilding the family unit by encouraging them to live by a different standard to what the Roman world did. They upheld the value of women. They upheld the value of children. And they didn't do it by shouting against everybody else. You don't see the Apostle Paul shouting against everybody. You see him instituting in the church, encouraging them to live by a different standard. And eventually people took notice. And eventually people started to realize these people are different. And they took notice of that, and ultimately, within a few hundred years, the Roman Empire had crumbled and Christianity had taken over. That's how the church is to take on the gates of hell. So today, before we close, I want to give you an opportunity to join the church. What does it mean to be a part of the church? Well, you have to be a follower of Jesus to do that. The church is a group of Jesus followers. And maybe you're watching today and you're not really a follower of Jesus. You've never given your life to him. You've never surrendered your life over to him. Well, that's the greatest decision you could ever make, my friend. And right now, I want to give you that opportunity. So in a moment, there's going to be a button come up on the screen, and I want you to click that button, click that link, and let us know that you're making that decision to follow Jesus. And there'll be a little pop-up form that'll come up on your screen. You can complete that form, and that is just an anonymous form that'll just go straight to our pastoral team. We won't publicize it, and we'd love to get in touch with you and give you some resources to help you on your journey with following Jesus. What does it mean to follow Jesus? Or maybe today, my friend, you've been away from God. Or maybe today you've been in church, but you've not been living for him. Maybe today you've realized that to live for Jesus means giving up something of yourself. If you want to experience full life, you have to not live just for yourself. And today you're saying, I want to follow Jesus with all my heart. Well, as that link comes up now, would you press that link as well? And we're all going to pray the words of this prayer together on screen right now. Lord Jesus, I'm praying to you now because I know I need you in my life. Thank you for dying on the cross for the forgiveness of my sins. I repent of my sin and I turn to God. I ask you to come into my life and reveal yourself to me. I want to follow you from this day forward. I want to be a Christian. Amen. Well, if you prayed that prayer, welcome to the church. Welcome to the family of God. This is the beginning of the most wonderful journey to be part of God's family. We would love to support you in that journey and help you. So make sure you let us know that you prayed that prayer, that you're committing to Jesus or recommitting to him. We will help you to be a part of this vibrant ecclesia, this body of Christ. I'm so looking forward to the rest of this series and what it means as we unpack the significance and the power and authority we have to bring hope to a world that so desperately needs it. God bless you. I'll talk to you next time. Have a wonderful week.
Of my enemies, I raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight for me. 'Cause I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. I raise a hallelujah with everything inside of me. I raise a hallelujah. I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I raise a hallelujah. You lost your hold on me. 'Cause I'm gonna sing in the middle you.